Todd is now a New York Jet. The 10-time Pro
Joe
Bowl
Montana has agreed to contract terms with the KC Chiefs.
Today, the madness continues with the NFL Draft as teams zero in on a pair of potential franchise quarterbacks, Notre Dame's Rick Mirer and Washington State's Drew Bledsoe. But moving up with a bullet is Georgia's Garrison Hearst. We're talking football and the draft from New York City and points beyond on ESPN next. Yes, we know it's late April, but it's football front and center at the 58th annual selection meeting, as it is called properly, here at the Marriott Marquis in New York. Hello once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman. So glad you could be with us for our 14th year of live coverage of the NFL Draft. We have never seen an offseason like this, and so therefore it follows that we may never see a draft like this. There's never been a shorter draft than this. This is only 8 rounds. There's never been a draft with as many picks in the first round as this one, 29. There has never been so little known the night before by player personnel, general managers for this draft. And unlike any other year, we are everywhere. We have 4 war room cams, and we are in 8 headquarters around the league. Starting off with the team that has the very first pick in Foxborough, Massachusetts, our compatriot, if you will pardon the pun, Tom Jackson. Good morning, Tom.
Chris, there's heavy speculation here in New England that Bill Parr is going to be Drew Bledsoe. As soon as he makes that choice, we're going to have him right here. Now let's go to Fred Edelstein in Santa Clara.
Thanks, Tommy. It's been an historic week for the 49ers. Joe Montana is gone. A new era begins. Because of the Montana trade, the 49ers have 2 number-1 picks. Right now, they're up in their offices burning up the phone lines, trying to wheel and deal. They're thinking defense, defense, defense. Now let's join Gary Danielson in Tempe.
All right, thanks, Fred. The story here for the Cards is 3 picks in the top 32 selections. They'd like to get 3 starters, of course, that valuable 4th pick, and they'd love to take Garrison Hearst. We'll be inside the draft room with the draft cam, and we'll see him sweating up close and personal. Now down to Brad Nessler.
All right, Gare, Paul Gruber, offensive tackle, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' designated franchise player. The question is, will he still be a Buccaneer when Sam Weish makes his choice in the number 6 slot? Speculation, the Bucs may try to move up from that number 6 position, possibly go for Garrison Hearst. We've got draft room cam in there, and Sam, with his 2nd season, trying to rebuild the Buccaneers. Let's go to Chris Mortensen now. Mort.
Thanks, Brad. Well, Reggie White is gone in Philadelphia, but the Eagles have the 13th and 24th picks of the first round. They'd like to move up to get a defensive lineman to replace White, and maybe even Texas A&M safety Patrick Bates. Now let's go to Steve Cyphers in Eden Prairie.
Chris, a landmark day for the Vikings. A first-round pick for the first time in 5 years, plus 4 selections in the first 79 picks overall. And yet another draft room cam will be here to capture all the hubbub and activity. Now let's go to Andrea Kramer.
Thanks a lot, Steve. No draft room cam, but player cam here in Atlanta, where we will meet a number of players getting ready for the biggest day of their athletic careers, including star Alabama defensive end Eric Curry. Now let's head down to Irving, Texas, and Chris Myers.
The Cowboys, of course, drafting last in the first round. Dallas returns all of its starters from the Super Bowl championship team. They are expected to trade down out of the first round for a couple of second-round picks and look for depth. We'll keep an eye on it on Draft Room Cam. The birth of Draft Room Cam was right here in Dallas. Let's kick it back to New York and Chris Berman.
All right, Chris, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very large. Always good to see the birth of Draft Room Cam, and always good to see, if it's the draft, you know that it's the rebirth of Mel Kiper Jr. and Joe Theismann, and we are all tingling with anticipation. It looks like it's going to be quarterbacks. Drew Bledsoe, Rick Mirer, 1-2. How 1-2? Who would you pick 1, Joe?
How 1-2? I would probably, if I was New England, I would take Rick Mirer. The reason I would take Rick Mirer is because I think that he could sell tickets in the New England area to the Notre Dame fans. As far as their athletic ability goes, both these young men compare very favorably. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Drew Bledsoe. Throws the ball a little bit quicker, gets it out a little bit quicker. Rick Mirer is still an unknown as far as throwing goes. The knock on him has been he's not a very accurate passer. It's hard to evaluate.
But you would pick Meyer,
I would
spoken like a true Golden Domer, and you may have a busy day to sing the fight song for Notre Dame. Mel, you like Bledsoe better. Why?
I always have, Chris, and I disagree with Joe. I think you build a team with the quarterback, and of course, selling tickets, you sell tickets when you win. I don't think Rick Meyer would determine that. Drew Bledsoe is a franchise quarterback. The Dallas Cowboys, when they started to rebuild, went for Troy Aikman and built around him. The Patriots have 2 second-round picks, a third and 2 fourths. They're in a great position to build and develop this team around Drew Bledsoe.
Another thing to remember about Coach Bill Parcells as we get set to go up to the podium and let the commissioner, Paul Tagliabue, kick off the 58th annual selection meeting.
Welcome again to the Football League annual draft. The first selection will be made by the New England Patriots.
So as they say, there's the foot into the ball, and it's traveling down to the goal line, and we're underway. The Patriots now, if you're just joining us for the first time here, each first-round pick, the team has 15 minutes to make a selection. And since they've waited this long, what's the rush? Why not wait 15 minutes? But it doesn't sound like they will. The card has gone up to the commissioner, and let's check it out.
The Patriots select Drew Bledsoe, quarterback, Washington State University.
Now there's Drew Bledsoe, young man from Washington State, with the new
The next choice will be
Patriots
made by the Seattle Seahawks.
logo on the hat. And we have with us here, as you see, Bledsoe. Well, this is the new colors of the New England Patriots. Now, number one, we don't know that he's going to wear number one. We do know that he's the first pick of the draft. He was 11 in college, so maybe we just add one on. And this is it. The official jersey of the Patriots with the logo, and Drew Bledsoe is now a member of the New England Patriots. Bill Parcells, what I started to say, guys, see, he's not a guy that has to win this year. He's going to be there 4 or 5 years. Why not start right out and develop a quarterback, whoever it is? You have time with him. Bill's not going anywhere.
No, and I think something's very interesting, too, here, Chris. You got to remember, this is Bill's first draft that he's had an opportunity to be in charge of. Being in charge of this draft, he went after the right pick. Mel made the mention of it. Like I said, the only reason I thought Meyer might go there was for ticket sales. Either one of these young men is great to build your franchise around. He certainly fits in, I think, exactly what Bill Parcells wants. A pocket passer, a guy who can get the ball down the field. Never needed a guy who could run around much.
All right. Tommy Jackson is up in Foxborough right now, and with him is the man that made the selection, Bill Parcells. Tommy.
Coach, how are you feeling about that first choice that you've got?
Well, I'm feeling very good, Tom. I think we selected a player that's going to be able to make a significant contribution to our team, and I think eventually he'll be a guy that can really do a good job for us at the quarterback position. But I do want to dispel the myth that I would term this quarterback a franchise quarterback. I don't think that kind of label is a proper one to put on a young guy coming out of college. I think he's a guy that we think can help us and make that contribution later on, but I know the media will refer to him as a franchise quarterback, but I don't view it that way.
Why Bledsoe over Meyer?
Well, I think in the end it was just a little bit more of the ability to throw the ball, the certainty that and being able to witness him do that effectively. I think they're both very fine players. I think both of them are going to be very successful in their NFL careers, but our personal preference just was Drew Bledsoe.
Coach, there was so much speculation over the people wanting to trade to get that pick, trading that pick, and in the end, why did you keep it?
Well, we obviously kept it because we thought it was in our best interest to do so. There were a couple of very, very strong proposals, not more than that, just 2 or 3 very strong proposals, but they didn't really ever approach offset, and we thought the value that we had with Drew Bledsoe.
Coach, does this kid come in as your starter right now?
No, I don't think so. You know, I've never been a guy to try to throw anybody to the wolves, so I can tell all the fans and all the people in the NFL he'll play when he's ready.
Thanks, Coach. Let's go back to Chris Berman in New York.
All right, Tommy and Bill, thank you. He'll play when he's ready, and no one will be more interested as to when he's ready than Bill Parcells. Since the common draft in 1970, now with Bledsoe's selection as a quarterback in the #1 slot, there have been 8 quarterbacks picked first overall. Jeff George in 90, Troy Aikman in 89, Vinny Testaverde in 87, John Elway in 83, Steve Bartkowski in 75, Jim Plunkett in 71, Terry Bradshaw, 1970. Pretty good company for Drew Bledsoe. Seattle is now on the clock. If Bledsoe was there, their card goes right up. Now all of a sudden with Meyer there, not the local product, they may take the full 15 minutes. While they think about it, why don't we think about Drew Bledsoe? Joe had a chance to spend some time with him as Bledsoe looks at his future as a pro.
So what makes Drew Bledsoe so special? Bledsoe possesses the arm strength and athletic ability to make the most difficult of throws. He's able to back straight out looking to his left and make the strong, accurate pass to the right side of the field. Besides the arm, it requires great footwork. This ability I liken to John Elway. Some have made mention of Bledsoe's release point. It's a 3/4 style, but the delivery is not uncommon in the league. I don't see it as a problem. His size helps him overcome it, and it won't be a factor when given the proper passing lane to throw through. One adjustment I would make is how he carries the ball. He carries it low like Dan Marino. But no one possesses Marino's quick release. Raising the ball higher will help his mechanics when faced with making any throws. Bledsoe also possesses great pocket presence. While pressure is collapsing his protection, Drew is able to keep his concentration and find the receiver, a trait some current NFL quarterbacks do not possess. The other trait I love about him is his fiery attitude. Its importance cannot be overlooked.
Well, first and foremost, a quarterback has to be the leader. You know, he has to be the guy that, in a tough situation, that his teammates can look to and say, hey, you know, he's going to get the job done. If there's 2 minutes left and you're down by a touchdown, then you have to be able to come into the huddle and look at the quarterback and say, hey, he's going to get it done for us. He's going to win the game.
So Drew Bledsoe now goes to the New England Patriots, where he's not an immediate starter. They have Scott Zolak, Z-O-L-A-K, Zolak, for you Kings fans. They have Scott Secules, but now they have Drew Bledsoe. How does he really have to alter his game to fit Bill Parcells, or does he alter it?
I don't think he has to alter his game, Chris. I think the unique thing about Drew Bledsoe is he brings a lot of natural talent, and it's important that Bill Parcells has said, I don't expect him to start right away. I'm going to get him ready when he's ready to go. He is going to need a quarterback coach. He and Meyer, both these young men, have not had, I think, the tutoring in college that they will get or could have gotten possibly at another school at the college level. Coaches try, but you need a specific position coach. I think that's going to be very, very important for the development of Drew Bledsoe. Ray Perkins will do a good job as an offensive coordinator, but will he have the time to spend tutoring this young man in the art of quarterbacking? That's the question in my mind that remains.
Once upon a time, Joe and Mel, the Patriots were laden with wide receivers. But now, and remember, a former #1 pick, Fryer, is gone to Miami. These are the wide receivers and catches they had last year. McMurtry leading those that are left with 35, and of course Hartley Dykes coming off a veritable plethora of injuries. Of course, he has an excellent tight end in Marv Cook, a Pro Bowl tight end who you will probably get to know very well. Sacks have been a major problem for the New England Patriots. 6 Patriots were sacked last year, and in the last 3 years, the total is way over 100. So Drew Bledsoe had better be durable, but the Patriots draft him because they think he will be. Drew Bledsoe, now on the Patriots. Seahawks on the clock. We'll be back. Do they take another quarterback? A couple of years ago. All right, we are back at the NFL draft. The Patriots have picked Drew Bledsoe, the local Washington product that the Seattle Seahawks really wanted all along. Now, Mel, the dilemma for the Seahawks right now, do they take another quarterback? A couple of years ago, Dan McGuire in the first round. Recently, Kelly Stoffer in the first round. You say that as you do your board, Rick Mirer should not be the second pick overall in the draft?
No, and it's really not a major knock against Mirer. There's been a lot of great second, third, and fourth round quarterbacks. My point is that while Mirer may be between 18 and 30 on the board, he's not one or two. Comes out of a system with Lou Holtz. It's not conducive to developing quarterbacks. You look at the completion percentage, 51.3, not up to first round standards. During his career at Notre Dame, Rick Mirer threw more touchdowns, more interceptions than touchdown passes. To me, I think he's a risk this high. He's got talent. He's an athlete, strong arm, very intelligent, but he needs a lot of developing, and to me, this is a stretch for a Seattle Seahawks team that definitely needs offense. Their defense is strong, so that's the reason this pick will probably be Rick Mirer.
Yes, and the Seattle Seahawks, member Tom Flores, the president, coach of the club, likes to go deep vertical game like the Raiders, and they thought Bledsoe might be better suited than that than Mirer. We know Bledsoe can go deep, and he's gone over with our Adrian Karsten. Adrian.
Cover 2 and cover 3 since he was 8 years old. Congratulations, big man.
Thanks a lot, Adrian.
To New England. Now, I know how much you want to play in front of family and friends back in Seattle. What is more important to you, being the #1 pick or playing back home?
Well, it's a great, great honor to be the #1 pick. You know, I couldn't be happier with anything, any situation. I mean, this is, I'm going to go play for a team with a great new coach, a team that's on the rise, and, you know, go compete for a job as soon as I can. But I mean, this is a great honor.
Competition is going to be the key. Bill Parcells says you will play when you are ready. Now, is that a guarantee you're going to have to sign, that you would be the starter?
Right. You know, I'm going to go in with the idea that I'm going to compete, and he's already told me that he's not going to put me on the field until he feels like I'm ready, and so I'm going to have to prove that to him before I hit the field.
Got to prove it to a man who, in the past, has coached the way he likes to run before he passes.
Right.
Chris, let's go back to you.
All right, Adrian and Drew, congratulations, certainly. What an exciting day for all these college seniors and juniors to be picked anywhere, certainly #1. Well, Seattle's decision, they've made theirs. Let's go up to the commissioner and find out what indeed they have done.
With the second choice in the draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Rick Mirer, quarterback, Notre Dame.
Quarterback, you love this. The last time quarterbacks went 1-2 was 1971 when Plunkett to the Patriots, Archie Manning to New Orleans, Dan Pastorini to the Oilers went 1-2-3. So this is a rare year. Will Mirer make it in a hurry with Seattle?
I think he will, Chris. As a matter of fact, when I talked to the Seattle Seahawks this week, it is going to be competition between Rick Mirer and Dan McGuire for the quarterback spot. They like Stan Gelbaugh as their insurance policy. Rick Mirer is going to go in a little bit different than Bill Parcells as far as his look at, well, I'm going to hold Bledsoe back and wait till he's ready. Rick Mirer is expected to go up there and compete for a starting job. I disagree with Mel a little bit. The intangible about Rick Mirer is his great leadership ability, his great toughness. I think he's a great natural thrower. Nobody has film on him throwing a lot because Notre Dame didn't do it a lot. Doesn't mean that he can't get it done. I think this is an excellent choice for the Seahawks. I think they're looking at the future of this franchise with either McGuire or Mirer for a good 5-10 years down the road.
One thing that the Seattle Seahawks certainly need from Mirer or somebody is offense. Last year, as you look at the quarterback depth chart, Gelbaugh threw for 1,300 yards. Dan McGuire, been injured, never really had the shot to give him an idea. Jeff Graham didn't play. This is a team that set an NFL record for futility in points scored, 140 points. That's less than 9 a game. However, because they signed Mitch Farrat, the offensive lineman of the Buffalo Bills, he had 3 touchdown passes last year. 2 in the regular season, 1 in the playoffs. They now have a wideout threat, so Mirer will be glad about that. Think there's excitement here? Jets, 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 Jets. Next.
Invention.
The NFL draft, Drew Bledsoe and Rick Mirer have gone 1-2. Now, we will not need these cards any longer. This is Rick Mirer, quarterback, New England Patriots. Drew Bledsoe, quarterback, Seattle Seahawks. So I guess these cards immediately become collector's items. It's always good to come up with something for nothing in your kicks for free here at the NFL draft. Jets, Jets are next. This is where the whole complexion of the draft can turn. You have Garrison Hearst, you get Marvin Jones, you get 3 stud defensive linemen, you have 2 outstanding offensive linemen. Who wants to get up to this spot? There may be many. Let's check in now in Philadelphia with our Chris Mortensen. Mort, what do you got going on there?
Well, Chris, I think as Chris Myers tipped us off earlier, the Los Angeles Rams are very anxious to get into this spot, offering Sean Gilbert, their defensive lineman, and the 3rd pick in last year's draft to the Jets, and the Jets are really considering this. They haven't picked a defensive player since Dick Steinberg's been there. They think Gilbert can have more of an impact than, say, Marvin Jones. Tampa Bay and Phoenix, of course, interested in this spot as well. But right now, the Rams and Jets, I know it was about 20 minutes ago, very serious in their talks about Sean Gilbert to the Jets for the spot to take Garrison Hearst. That the Rams also would stay in the 10th spot, which allow them to address that defensive line need. Now, this is going to impact the Phoenix Cardinals, so let's go to Tempe, Arizona with Gary Danielson.
All right, the story for the Cardinals is how do they get Garrison Hearst? They would love to have him on their football team. They really need a star-type player, especially on offense for this football team. And, you know, I asked Larry Wilson yesterday, what would he do? Would he just sit and hold his breath and wait for Garrison Hearst? And, no, as you can see in the draft room cam right there, that's what they're discussing right now. Larry Wilson and Bob Ackles, player personnel from Dallas last year, who's coming over here to Phoenix this year, have said they just won't sit idly by and wait for Garrison Hearst. They will be active and try to move up if they can. If not, they feel they can get a quality player with the 4th pick. Look for them to take Eric Curry with that pick. Back to Chris Berman.
All right, Gary and Moore, thank you. So it's Jets, then Phoenix, and everybody wants to get up to get Garrison Hearst. The big question is, would the Jets, if they stayed at home, would they pick the running back Garrison Hearst? Would they kind of say that their number 2 of a couple of years ago just isn't going to work? I think if they keep it, they go with Hearst. He can be a spectacular player, even though they're chanting Marvin for Marvin Jones, the middle linebacker. What do you think, Mel?
Well, to me, Chris, if I'm the New York Jets and I'm getting offers like this for Gilbert and the number 1 pick, and you know there's a good second-tier group of running backs like a Terry Kirby and Natrone Means, I would move down a little bit. Now, as far as Marvin Jones is concerned, he's a great linebacker. I have him number 2 on the board. The problem with the New York Jets, you plug him in at middle linebacker, you have to call the defensive signals. If you project him outside, well, they have Mo Lewis, who they just switched to right outside linebacker. They're developing Kurt Barber, their 2nd-round pick from last year. So is it a good fit with the New York Jets? That's the question right now. Will Marvin Jones be the Jets' pick? That's right now is up for debate within that organization. Garrison Hearst, his knees look like they're okay. Certainly with Blair Thomas being a disappointment, that is a definite need area for the New York Jets.
There was some question with some of the Jets doctors about maybe his knees, but late medical reports, we understand, last couple of weeks, they've signed off on him, so it's fine. That's the way they're looking at him as they entertain the offer from the Rams and maybe from someone else. We say this has been a brave new world in the offseason. Well, you need look no farther than the New York Jets and how busy they have been in this new world of free agency. First of all, they sign a guy who's going to Canton, Ohio, Ronnie Lott, to play safety. Leonard Marshall, it's nice. He doesn't really have to change his locker room at Giant Stadium. He can keep his old locker, just dress with the Jets, I guess, and play on the defensive line. Eric Thomas from the Bengals, Thornton, a tight end from Chicago. Now, they lost a few players, but also what you don't see here in a trade with Cincinnati, Boomer Esiason at quarterback. Boomer, Lott, Leonard Marshall, if they make an impact player, maybe a running back, or if they get another guy right here, Joe, they can go from 4-12 to, in the AFC, be serious contenders. Do you agree with me on that?
I absolutely agree with you, Chris. As a matter of fact, I've already taken strides to make this statement. I think the New York Jets will be in the AFC Championship game because of Boomer Esiason's reuniting with Bruce Coslet. Cincinnati's system that Coslet ran when Esiason was there was a little bit difficult, and it's very hard to learn. And we've seen the struggle there that Browning Nagel has had. Look at the games with Boomer and Coslet. 32 games, 56 TDs, only 25 INTs, passing yards per game, 221.8, 222 yards. I really think that Boomer Esiason is going to make a big difference here. Besides that, he's a Long Island kid coming home. Nobody wants us to play bad in front of their family at home.
Well, there's no question that the Rams have been perhaps the hottest to trot to get up to this slot to get Garrison Hearst the last couple of days. That was the word late last night. Obviously, they're making the Jets think about it. The guy that was penciled in all along to go to the Jets, Marvin Jones, linebacker, Florida State. He's with our Adrian Karsten. Let's get his views on what's going on right now.
Chris, we're back here behind the scenes, literally. Marvin, you're watching your name and hearing your name being bandied about here at the draft. What's going through your mind?
Well, I'm a little scared right now because, you know, everybody's still talking about the different scenarios of different players. So, you know, it's still up in the air.
You want to be part of this town. You want to be part of this team here in the New York Jets. Why?
Well, because I think there's an exciting place to play, and, you know, it's a big city, and, you know, the fans are just lovely.
Standing with the man who's ranked best at stuffing the run, Chris.
No question about that, Adrian. Marvin Jones, they say that the likes of him in the inside have not been seen for a long, long time. And some people are saying that the same sort of things about Garrison Hearst. They feel that in a lot of ways that maybe he is better than Emmitt Smith. Maybe only a Barry Sanders coming out might rate higher in recent years than Garrison Hearst. Now, we talked to GMs about his knee injury. Would it scare him?
I think that if Garrison Hearst is there, I don't think it would be any problem for us to take him, because this is something, it seems, and I can't speak in medical terms, but I think that from speaking to the doctors, it's something that's been there, he's been playing with. It's a little different than if he had just injured it.
I hope people are worried, because if we saw him there, we would love to see him there. He's got great potential. We were just blown away by the workout.
What you do there is you roll the dice. You say, my goodness, if I'm fortunate enough in my position to get a player of this caliber, we're going to take them.
And they got a little nervous about him because of the leg, but I don't think anybody told him that he had something wrong with his leg, because of the way he played, he was just for people. And so I think he's a consideration.
When you look at film and you see him and you watch him work out, a lot of us like to have an ACL problem like he has. Great player.
It has to be a concern, but I don't think there's a chance we'd pass him up.
A concern, but he's hard-nosed, and if he has a knee problem, scouts rate him faster than Emmitt Smith, faster than Thurman Thomas, who, oh, by the way, had a knee problem coming out of Oklahoma State. That's the last we've heard of it, as he's excelled with the Buffalo Bills. Mel, is Garrison Hearst as good as we've seen?
It's a tremendous football player, Chris. When you watch Garrison Hearst play, you see a guy with game-breaking skills, tremendous hands, can really break the long gainer at any point in time. You see the size, solid 200-pounder, electrifying, sets up defenders, and really has that ability to stop, change direction, and then really turn on the Jets and go all the way for the touchdown. Watch him here, the way he sets up the defensive back, leaves him behind, off to the races, can outrun even the fastest defensive backs, the pay dirt. Here you see him catching the football with his hands down the field, then he goes all the way, sprints past the safety. There's a cornerback, puts a move there. He's gone. Like I said, his individual workout in late February is really what did it for Garrison Hearst. When he worked out in late February, he ran a 4.33 and a 4.38, and all of a sudden, the talk of the knee injury was gone. I think teams at that point said, hey, his individual workout was better than Barry Sanders, he's faster than Emmitt Smith, he's faster than Thurman Thomas, and all of a sudden, he was re-catapulted up into the early portion of the first round. After when that injury was diagnosed, he was looked at as a third-round pick. All of a sudden, he's in the top 5, maybe to the New York Jets.
And that workout was held in about 30-degree weather. It was the Jets, though, that maybe got the tip early on the knee injury, and maybe that's why they're weighing it more than other teams. Let's go down to Chris Mortensen in Philadelphia. Has some word on this. Mort?
Well, that's right, Chris. Before that workout, he went to the Indianapolis Scouting Combine for a physical, and there's 6 stations of doctors that examine you. He passed the first 5 stations. In the 6th station, I think the Jets doctor was there, and they noticed some looseness in that left knee and ordered an MRI, and they came up with this partial tear of the ACL. But since then, independent doctors have said, hey, this is normal for him. He's never missed a practice, never missed a game. People would be foolish not to take this.
All right, Mort, thank you. One thing we can say about the Jets. Now, remember, the deadline for tendering an offer sheet to restricted free agents was Friday at midnight. They tried late to get Chris Warren from Seattle match, to get Derek Fenner, the former Seahawk, now Bengal, the Bengals match. They probably would have offered every running back that ever played for Seattle, Kurt Warner, but I don't think they went that far. I do know this, though. The Jets, this wasn't a scared move, that they didn't go overboard with money very nice contracts. What I'm trying to say is these weren't offers that they thought that the teams, Cincinnati and Seattle, wouldn't match. Therefore, we shouldn't necessarily view these moves as a tip-off that they're going for Garrison Hearst. The longer they sit on the pick, the longer I have a feeling that as it ends, and we have less than a minute now for the Jets to make a pick, we get a running back up. Trade. Here's the details from the trade. So we got to think Rams. The more you think you know, the less you realize you know. Well, that's the trade desk. Now, you see, that's a little different to Jim Steig.
45 seconds left in the minute.
Now, we heard the word trade, did we not? But yet, we are holding. That's the trade desk. You see, it's a two-tiered desk.
30 seconds remaining.
And of course, many a Jet fan up on the balcony, waiting since daylight this morning. There aren't many seats up here for the gallery gods, and these folks are eager with their clipboards. And
15
my goodness,
seconds
is that
remaining.
a Mel Kiper book I see there? It's blue. My goodness, Mel. Well, the time is running.
5 seconds.
Marvin Jones, Garrison Hearst. Here comes the pick. The suspense is killing us, guys. Looks like a trade by the way that they're huddled over that, unless somebody drafted.
You think it's killing us? How about Marvin Jones?
That's right.
The poor kid's going leaps and bounds, as well as Garrison Hearst, because those are the two guys that were projected into this spot.
The New York Jets traded their choice to the Phoenix Cardinals. With the choice obtained from the Jets, Phoenix selects Garrison Hearst, running back, Georgia. The Jets are now on the clock, making the next selection.
Well, obviously there are some terms to that deal that we don't know about. Because to move up one place, the Jets elicit. Now, they can still get exactly who they want, or they could trade down another slot or two and maybe get defensive linemen. Well, Gary Danielson is in Phoenix, and there are a lot of sweaty palms, Gary, but the Cardinals got their man.
Well, they really did, Chris, and this is the guy they really had their eyes on. I mean, here's a football team that is a star away, they think, from challenging to get the playoff spot. You know, the Eastern Division isn't quite as possible. They think they could overtake the Giants, get in there and fight for a playoff spot, and they needed a star player in this city to play. Hey, you know, Charles Barkley's here now, and to attract the fans here to watch football, they needed a guy like Garrison Hearst. Larry Wilson told me yesterday that he wouldn't just sit idly by and watch Garrison Hearst go off the board, and they made the move. Let me show you the reaction in our draft cam when the trade was taking place. You're going to have Bob Ackles and Larry Wilson reacting to the trade that happens, and they were very pleased to get the man they wanted in this situation, Garrison Hearst. And there was clapping and shaking hands and all the different reactions that players have and coaches have when they accomplish something in a very big day. So Garrison Hearst is the man, and they got him by moving up and swapping with the Jets. Chris?
All right, Gary, so the Phoenix Cardinals making some draft day maneuvers. Usually that's bad news for Cardinal fans, but this time it looks like they got themselves one heck of a player. For details on the trade, let's head back up to the podium.
On the trade for the Jets pick to Phoenix, the two clubs, in effect, switched positions in the first round, and Phoenix traded to the Jets Johnny Johnson, Phoenix running back.
Jets have their back, and they still have the pick. We'll be back. Well, welcome. Welcome back to the Marriott Marquis, and that's Carpet Cam as it zips up and finds us wheeling and dealing. And gentlemen, we are only 3 picks in. Johnny Johnson, Pro Bowler 2 years ago. Last year rushed for just 734 yards, but obviously young. Obviously the Jets get it back, and a powerful back when he's on. It's the last year of his contract, but the Jets have shown they have some dollars and they are players. Meanwhile, the Cardinals get Garrison Hearst. They have about 60,000 empty seats every game. Now all of a sudden, that number has come down a little bit. Let's go to the head coach of the Phoenix Cardinals, Joe Bugle, who's with our Gary Danielson. Guys?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Joe Bugle, a real happy man right now. You got your man.
Got the great runner. We felt the best player in the draft, so we're just tickled to death here in Phoenix.
You guys were happy the 2 quarterbacks went off the board early, didn't you?
It fell the way we wanted it to fall right there, and we definitely wanted Garrison Hearst. We were going to do anything we could in our power to get that young man because he is truly a great football player.
What can he do for your football team?
Score touchdowns.
Well, that's the object. You know, well, hold on a second, Coach. I'm having a little problem. Now, I was in Atlanta the last couple years dealing with your friend Jerry Glanville, and he always wore shades. I'm not used to, talking with the coaches without shades now.
Right now, Gary, I'll do anything. All right?
All right, tell me what happened. There was some rumors that it was the 20th pick in your first-round pick. Was that ever considered?
No. Never.
Too much.
Never.
You have 2 more picks. You'd like to get, what will you be looking for with those 2 picks?
Oh, best player on the board at that time. Maybe offense and maybe defense.
All right, the injury to Garrison Hearst. I'll zero in on Garrison. The injury, was that any factor at all?
No, because every one of the doctors, and our doctors especially, approved that and said there's nothing wrong with that young man. We're going to score touchdowns. Now we have to throw the ball 48 times to Gary Clark and give this guy 48 times. We'll be all right.
Happy man here down in Tempe, Chris. Back to you.
All right, Gary and his smiling Bugs, that's for sure. And I love the way he gave away that next. It could be offense, could be defense. Best player on the board. That's the first time we've heard that today. It's the first of about 50 times. By the way, the Cardinals, this is just for a change, the Phoenix Cardinals have a lot of positives coming out of their camp in the offseason. Yes, they lost Tim McDonald to the San Francisco 49ers, their Pro Bowl safety, but Steve Berline is now their quarterback. Gary Clark, Pro Bowl wide receiver from the Redskins, is their wide receiver. And they get Chuck Cecil, who made the Pro Bowl last year, to kind of step in McDonald's shoes. And they got John Shake Your Booty from the Eagles, the former Jet, to play some corner. So the Phoenix Cardinals, at least, guys, are making moves. Admittedly, the Super Bowl champions resigned, the Dallas Cowboys, but maybe the Eagles down a little, maybe the Skins down a little. For a change, maybe time for the Cards to make a little movement, Joe.
Well, Chris, you're absolutely right. And what they've done is they're making the movement not only on the field, but they're going to make the movement as far as fan support. And that's important to players. They want to go someplace where people are excited about the game. Phoenix now is getting real excited about football. The 2 key acquisitions, obviously Garrison Hearst. Johnny Johnson was a little bit of a moody player, they felt. They didn't know quite whether he was going to show up. They didn't know what mood he was going to be in. So they're sort of getting rid of what they consider a little bit of a problem. Also in the last year of his contract, Garrison Hearst has got to be excited. Gary Clark gives him a big-time wide receiver. Steve Berline gives him a steady quarterback who has had Super Bowl experience, came in and filled. Remember, a couple years ago for Troy Aikman, did a great job getting them to the respectability to before the next level of the Super Bowl. Their offense, they feel like they've got a huge defensive line. They're going to be real best punter in football. Good kicking game, good defense, explosive offense. Look out, world. Here come the Cardinals.
Here come the Cardinals. So Drew Bledsoe, Rick Meyer, Garrison Hearst. The first time we've had offense in the draft since '89. Aikman, tremendous. Tony Mandarich,
gone.
And Barry Sanders. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Meatloaf once sang. Does Marvin Jones become a Jet, or do the Jets go down again to get a defensive lineman? We'll return. A cast of thousands canvassed around the NFL. 4 war room cams, one which you've seen already in Phoenix. And, hey, we don't lie. We told you that this would be a different draft. There'll be more stuff buzzing than probably any draft that we could remember already. This stuff be flying. Marvin Jones, a very special player, Mel, in the middle, the likes of which we haven't seen for a while. Talk about what he can mean to a football team.
Well, I've said all along, Chris, I think he's the most dominant college linebacker since Lawrence Taylor in '79 and '80. The problem with Marvin Jones is a middle linebacker, and a lot of teams are a little reluctant to use a super high pick on a pure middle linebacker. You see the 244 pounds, started his career to 25, added weight and strength each year. First defender to the hole. Tremendous instincts at the snap of the ball. You see him here shooting into the backfield, making the play. Can also get outside. Tremendous lateral quickness from Marvin Jones. And like I said, you're talking about a kid now that's bulked up to about 238, 240 pounds. So he's a lot bigger, a lot stronger, has retained that 4.55 speed. And because of that, you're looking at one of the elite defensive players in the draft.
There are less than 5 minutes now on the Jets' first-round selection, this version, which is now the number 4 pick overall. And before we come back to speculate on if they're talking trade again, let's get some opinions on a linebacker, Marvin Jones, from a pretty good linebacker himself, Tom Jackson. Tommy, I have a feeling that you really like what you saw when you studied him on film.
Well, Chris, he's an outstanding athlete, and I think that the speed and strength factor is no question. I think if there's a downside to Marvin Jones, it's the fact that, in fact, the entire linebacking group that you're going to look at this year lacks a little bit in height, and I can speak from experience in this area. On the inside, he might find that he has a little bit of a problem playing a two-gap linebacker, just losing sight of the ball. I played inside the first year and a half that I was in the NFL, and about 10 to 15% of the time, I found myself losing sight of the ball. I think that a lot of people will project this kid as an outside guy, and I think you get an outstanding talent if you put him on the outside.
Supposing a team plays the Jets aren't this situation, Tommy, but supposing they play a 3-4, then is he definitely outside or is he better inside? Where would you play him, depending on what kind of defense you play?
Well, again, I think if you played a 3-4 where you're going to have a guy who's getting hit every time, I think then automatically almost you put him on the outside. If you put him in a 4-3 where you can protect him, where you have guys slicing, going inside, keeping people off of him, and allow him to scrape to the football, then you're going to get the same kind of play that you got from him in college, which may be as good a linebacker as has come out since Lawrence Taylor.
Well, that's a big statement right there. Tommy, you spent a good part of this week with Bill Parcells, who knows a little bit about linebackers. Where would Bill play him? What did Bill think about him?
Well, Bill thought he was an outstanding talent. I think that when he started to rate the guys, he said, first of all, when you look at the quarterbacks, he said, I had no one rated higher in my life than John Elway. And he said, as far as Lawrence Taylor, I don't know that Marvin Jones will be a Lawrence Taylor. He said, you have to measure the intangibles afterwards. But again, I think the height was a bit of a concern to Coach Parcells.
All right, Tommy, we'll check in with you a little bit later as the Jets have now, well, there's under 5 minutes. Let's take a look. 2.5 minutes to go on the clock. And the Jet fans have had plenty of chances to yell names, but as Marvin Jones waits, do they make another trade? This could be a spot where the Jets, now they had an awful year, and they would not want to trade what happened with them, certainly with Dennis Byrd and Al Toon. I'm not trying to say that they would trade anything like that for what they get to pick here very early in the draft. But if you're a pretty good team, which they were 2 years ago in 8-8, had an awful year at 4-12, now look what they've done already. By picking this high, one bad year, they get a running back, they make maybe another trade. They could really fortify themselves, Joe, is what I'm trying to spit out.
You're absolutely right, Chris, and they really are in somewhat of what would be called the catbird seat. They can make deals because there are people that want to get up to get Jerome Bettis. They want to get up to get Eric Curry. There are people there that other people want, so they're still holding all the cards as far as deals go. I wouldn't be surprised if this is another trade.
Well, here comes the cards, and we shall find out as the Jets on the clock have about a minute and a half to go. And here's the commissioner.
With the fourth choice in the draft, the New York Jets select Marvin Jones, linebacker, Florida State. Cincinnati is the next selecting team.
The people's choice in New York. The Jets got their man, and they got a running back while they did it. Marvin Jones. You can hear the Jets.
What would you do with a Motorola pager?
Talking throne burning. 3 of the first 4 picks this year are underclassmen. Bledsoe, Garrison Hurst, and Marvin Jones. Same as last year when Steve Emtman was 1, Sean Gilbert was 3, and Desmond Howard was 4. So if you've got the talent and are that good, it looks like the pro teams are looking at you right away. Now the Cincinnati Bengals are up, picking number 5. The Bengals threw the curveball in last year's draft when they jumped up and took quarterback David Klingler. Klinger is now going to be the starter there as Boomer Esiason is on the Jets. I guess Cincinnati, Joe, has a lot of needs. They could go offensive tackle. Remember, Anthony Munoz may be one of the best ever to play the game. He's coming back for 1 year on his side with Tampa Bay. But they have an opening at the left tackle slot, maybe William Rowe.
Right.
But defensive line, they haven't had a pass rush for 10 years from the line.
Well, I think, you're talking about the pass rush. You're talking about great defense in college football. This year, it's got to be the University of Alabama. Copeland is probably the guy they're going to look at. This particular draft, or possibly, again, they might trade down. All these people realize that they may get Curry later down. They may get Williams later down. So there are opportunities for defensive help on that side of the ball. And again, they hold the cards now to the next 2 or 3 draft picks.
That's right. With the 3 defensive players that we're talking about, those are the ones now that everyone's coveting, and the 2 offensive linemen, Rofe and Kennedy. Chris Myers is in Dallas, has some insight on what the Bengals may do. Chris.
Yes, hi, Chris. They've told us already this morning they've had more than one offer for that pick. One solid offer that the Bengals have turned down came from San Francisco. The 49ers were offering their 2 first-round picks to the Bengals for that 5th spot. Cincinnati said, no, we'd like more. The 49ers said that was too much. The Bengals, although they think offensive tackle, like Copeland and Curry. Curry is the better pass rusher of the 2 in their opinion. Copeland probably the better all-around defensive player. Williams is also a consideration. They're leaning towards defensive line if they don't trade down on the pick. Let's go back to Chris Berman in New York.
All right, Chris, thank you. We will check in with you, and we know that we don't think Dallas wants to just sit there until pick 29. We have that thought for sure. So the Cincinnati Bengals are next, followed by Tampa Bay and Chicago. We're off and running at the NFL Draft. It's an institution that's been around longer than this NFL Draft. The Statue of Liberty on a beautiful day in New York, a day we won't see outside, but we'll take everybody's word for it. It's a beautiful day inside the Marriott Marquis here at the 58th NFL Draft. Chris Berman, Joe Theismann, Mel Kiper, and a cast of millions. I've upgraded that from thousands, by the way today is going. The Cincinnati Bengals, they have definitely changed their face. Gone is Sam Weish, gone now is Boomer Esiason, and gone is a lot of the vest, gone is Anthony Munoz, a lot of the memories of a pair of Super Bowl appearances in the 80s. They've lost Tim McGee, the excellent wide receiver to the Redskins. Eric Thomas has gone to Coslett and Boomer at the Jets. Rodney Holman, the tight end, is Munoz retired, unretired with Tampa Bay, Bussey to Tampa Bay. So the Bengals are definitely changing their face. A word here on the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year at this time, we thought that David Shula's situation, coming in with a potential powder keg in an off-season or during the season development in Seattle, allegedly involving a lot of the players, we thought that how he and the Bengals organization handle that situation would really determine, do they stay down in the doldrums for a long time, or do they climb their way up? It's my opinion that they have handled it expertly. And you're seeing that they're just changing personnel and changing a different direction. And now it's really David Shula's team. It's become a change, and it hadn't taken long.
It really hasn't. Now you look at the defensive side of the ball, the offensive line, 2 question mark areas. And really in the draft right now, we had the skill positions, 2 quarterbacks, a running back. Now you're going to linemen, offensive line, defensive line, Lincoln Kennedy, Willie Rofe, the 2 big tackles. Then comes the defensive lineman as well as Jerome Bettis, power back, Patrick Bates. You see Curry, Williams, and Footman. I think 5 of the next 7 picks will be either offensive or defensive linemen. And you also have Curtis Conway and Sean Dawkins and Jerome Bettis. Overall, 8 of the first 16 picks should be true juniors.
I think Rofe or Copeland. Well, we got time on the Bengals pick. Right now, let's go to Adrian Karsten. Marvin Jones, it cost him an extra 15 minutes, but the result was the same. He's still a Jet. Adrian?
Well, Chris, I think part of the point of coming out as a junior is to be able to play at least an extra year. But Marvin, how many years did you lose off your life waiting for that pick to be made, man?
Well, I lost about 20, I believe.
Tell me, can you start on a defense that has added Ronnie Lott and Leonard Marshall?
Well, I don't like to go in with attitude. I just like to go in and work hard, and I let things come, as I work for them, and, just hoping for the best.
What kind of promises do you have from Coach Coslett? Any at all?
No, not at all. I just know that I have to just go there with a positive attitude, work hard, and everything will just fall in place.
Well, why coming out as a junior? What do you feel you can gain from that?
Well, I've had I had a lot of accomplishments over my years in college, and I was pleased with the way that my career went there, and I just felt I had to move on to another level.
Bigger challenge in the pros now. Can you play outside as well as you can play inside?
Oh yeah, definitely. In our scheme at FSU, I had a chance to play inside and outside. So,
What position would you prefer to play coming in your rookie year?
Well, I like linebacker period. I just like to hit. That's it.
Coach Erickson, Dennis Erickson, Miami called him the best linebacker he's ever seen in college football.
I'll tell you what, that's a pretty high compliment for a guy that many of the scouts have told me is more instinctive coming out of college than Junior Seau and Quentin Coryatt. More instinctive than Junior Seau? That's some pretty serious high grades for Marvin Jones. And what kind of great influence Ronnie Lott and Leonard Marshall can have on a kid that's a hitter and an aggressive player and a guy that wants to go sideline to sideline. I don't think you can ever underestimate Ronnie Lott and Marshall's influence on Marvin Jones. It's exciting if you're a Jets fan, certainly on the defensive side of the ball. San Francisco 49ers, you know they're working the phones. Are they working it with Cincinnati? Let's check out and say, Fred, what do you got this morning?
Well, Chris, the 49ers had an absolute interest in the Cincinnati Bengals pick. If they got into this stratosphere, in this area of picks, they wanted one of the three defensive linemen, John Copeland, Eric Curry, or Dan Williams. Now, they weren't willing to pay a premium to get one of them. The Bengals wanted 2 number 1s and a number 2. The 49ers have determined that that's too high a price for this particular pick. If they really wanted one of those guys, maybe they would pay it. That's not going to be the case. I think if they do get into this area, a more likely suspect would be the Chicago Bears, where they could get one of those linemen at a much cheaper price. Now we're going to send it to Brad Nessler in Tampa.
All right, Fred, right now I think everything's going about as planned as far as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are concerned. They've had it in our draft room. Cam hasn't picked up anything in particular. I think, if anything, the Bucs still may draft down. Right now they're in a position where if they want to take a defensive lineman, John Copeland, Eric Curry, they would probably be one of the top 2 choices that they would look at. But also Dan Williams of Toledo is somebody that Sam's high on, and a local favorite is Footman out of Florida State. So if they go defensive line, still plenty of those guys for them there to take. But I still don't discount the possibility that maybe the Bucs will move down in the draft. Chris?
All right, Brad, thank you very much. And the word mellow describing a draft room with Sam Weish, and maybe the first time that we've heard that adjective describing Sam, the always intriguing head coach of the Clockwork Orange Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll be back. Back at the draft, less than 2 minutes for the Bengals with the 5th overall pick. From time to time here in New York, we're going to get you caught up on where certain teams were last season. I know it's been an interesting offseason, but you may have forgotten what they did on the field in '92. Let's check out the Cincinnati Bengals of a year ago. David Shula's rookie campaign ended with a 5-11 record and the determination that Boomer Esiason is no longer the Bengal quarterback. Number 1 pick David Klingler was given the job and baptized with 11 sacks in his NFL debut. But in Harold Green, Shula has a Pro Bowl back and a 1,000-yard performer. With 45 sacks, the defense made major strides rushing the passer. But they were 27th in touchdown passes allowed with 24. 5-11, the Bengals a year ago, as the first back-to-back losing seasons they have had in a long, long while. The decision by the Cincinnati Bengals has reached the commissioner's podium. And let's go to the commissioner, Paul Tagliabue, and find out who that is.
With the 5th pick in the draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select John Copeland, defensive end, Alabama. The next selecting team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, I can't say I'm real surprised at that pick, gentlemen. We thought it would be the tackle to replace Munoz, or here go the Alabama defensive players. Those 3 defensive linemen become a premium, Mel.
Well, Copeland, one of the safe picks. He's a real bulldog in the middle, great against the run, and that's something the Bengals need. They have those outside guys, Alfred Williams, Danny Stubbs. They need somebody who can hold down that middle area. John Copeland at 280 pounds, really tough, intense player. Spends a lot of time in the opposition's backfield. What he needs to work on is getting rid of a little of that flab in the middle, getting in the weight room, getting a little stronger. You see his outside pass rush ability, decent closing speed, but his effect on the Bengals is going to be as a run stopper, not necessarily as a great pass rusher. See him here, the way he gets it into the backfield again, makes the tackle. A very consistent player. 5th pick overall is about where he was projected. Certainly a good pick for the Bengals, who desperately needed that size and that bulk on the defensive front.
He is a guy that of the 3, and you can throw a blanket over all of them as far as who had 1, 2, 3, depending on the team's needs, Curry, Copeland, and Williams. probably will be the best pro right out of the gates because he is steadiest, Joe.
Well, I think that's the thing you look at, Chris, and I think Mel really pointed it out, is this is the guy that's probably the most well-rounded athlete coming out. Plays inside a lot, but has the versatility to play outside. Curry, specifically a pass rusher from the outside. Now, Williams comes out of Toledo, which is not necessarily a big school, so they say, can he go against big-time competition? But in the Alls, I have to agree with you, though. Copeland's got to be the guy that you can plug in right now and say, okay, this kid can play for us. We'll get him in and get him going. And they're going to have to get their first-rounders to play. I think with the way this new free agency system is set up, you're going to have to get your first-rounders ready to play football right away. You don't have the luxury to sit around and wait for them to develop.
Tampa Bay, Chicago, New Orleans are next up, and like we say, the defensive lineman, does someone come up to take a wide receiver, Curtis Conway in here? The draft takes interesting turns. Always intrigued by the turns the draft takes. Our coach, Mike Godfrey. Coach, some early observations?
Well, Chris, when you look at the draft, and we talked about yesterday, defensive linemen are a premium. If you have them in high school football, you win. If you have them in college football, you're in the top 20. If you have them in pros, you're in the playoffs. And John Copeland, Dan Williams, Eric Curry, they're three defensive linemen that people have to try to take because they can control the line of scrimmage, they can stop the run, they get a good pass rush. You need defensive line.
Coach, if you had to rank, had to choose between Curry and Copeland and Williams, does it really depend on what kind of team you have, or do you have a guy that you really think might eke out over the others?
Chris, it really determined by what type of team you have. John Copeland gives you the pass rush up inside. He's an inside player. Eric Curry's a basketball player playing the outside, a pass rush guy. Dan Williams, I would take him first. He's probably both of the Eric Curry and John Copeland player. He can be a force in the running game, and he's a force in the pass rush. The Mid-American, I rule that out. Jack Lambert went from Kent State and played great in the pros. Offendahl, Western Michigan with the Miami Dolphins. Forget that. He'll be a great pro.
All right, and that's exactly what the Cincinnati Bengals have thought. They picked John Copeland. Coach, will be checking back with you shortly for your insights. Certainly no one knows the college players better than you do. Mel, let's go to our defensive line board, because here are really, on defense, the home run hitters. The pass rushers are the guys that can stuff the run.
They really are, and you look at the defensive tackles, John Copeland, of course, the safe pick we talked about, a guy that's going to be able to come right in. Not the great upside, but consistency is his forte. Dana Stubblefield, a big 288-pounder. He really surfaced against BYU in the Aloha Bowl with 6 sacks. Coleman Rudolph, another safe pick. He's a 270-pounder, can play end or tackle. Now let's take a look at the defensive ends, where I think you're going to see a run on these guys coming up. Eric Curry's up to 265, tailed off during individual workouts. He figures in this area. Dan Williams, we've talked about. Dan Footman's the major college sleeper of this group, a 288-pounder, former JUCO running back, 4.65 speed on a 280-pound frame, unbelievable physical ability. Sterling Palmer, a player who didn't even start this year at Florida State, played behind Reggie Freeman, combination defensive end linebacker, kind of was fed up with that situation, moved on as a junior. He's a guy that could turn out to be a great second-round pick because he gives you that upside, that pass rush ability.
All right, Tampa Bay now on the clock, about a little more than 10 minutes to go for their selection. Now, they will not pick a quarterback right here, but you cannot begin talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without starting a question, Joe, about what they're going to do at quarterback. I mean, Vinny is gone. Vinny Testaverde is now the backup quarterback to Bernie Kosar at Cleveland. So you have the veteran, Steve DeBerg. You have Craig Erickson. You have Mike Pulaski. Can Sam Weiss, as we look at War Room Cam at Tampa Bay, this is inside the Buccaneers War Room, where decisions are being made